Good evening, guys. Engineer Pad 5290 coming to you with the November edition of Model Railroad Mondays. It's great to have you guys up here. We're just getting the party started, so please come on in, join the fun, have a relaxation time with us. I have my cup of coffee, and we are ready to rock and roll for tonight. So, guys, please come on in and let's have some fun. So, oh wow, Steve Casey Railfans on. Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going? Great to see you on here. Just get the party started. We're ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, this is going to be a real good night tonight. So go ahead, guys. Come on in with your questions. Start asking away. Also, if you got questions about maybe something simple to repair, come on in. We might be able to help. Steve, thank you for the reminder, guys. Please read Steve's message that he just put in. That all questions and comments must relate to model railroading for this stream. CSXGTEC44AC, hey man, how's it going? Great to see you on. So, guys, come on in. Ask your model railroad questions. Your favorite, like what scale to buy, what brand to buy, what else is new out there for the model railroad world. Any sort of model railroad question, we might be able to help. So if you guys are working on the layout or taking a little bit of a break, if you have some questions, come on in and ask it, guys. We are here to help. I mean, if I don't know something, somebody on the live stream might be able to help us out. So please keep that in mind. Um, oh, cool! CSX GT44AC has got two new scale trains cars. Yes, for HO scale or N scale for scale trains. And Steve says he got 911 a few weeks ago. It's amazing. Scale Trains did a great job on it. Yes, I have to applaud Scale Trains on that one. They nailed that model. I mean, with me as far as detail goes, them, Ather and Genesis, and Intermountain and Atlas are all four just right together. Now, as far as the pulling power goes, I've heard of mix. Some people like the Genesis motors. Some guys like the Atlas motors. Some guys like the Scale Trains motors. Which ones do you guys think are a little bit better? Athearn motors or Rapido motors or whatever. Let me know what your favorite motor is for like model trains and stuff. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. So guys, go ahead and say a little something on the chat here. We're gonna be here for we started at 8:15, so we should be here for about an hour and a half maybe. So there's a lot of good time to ask some good questions. So please say something on the chat. Let us know you're present and let's have some fun tonight. So let's go ahead and sit down and put down the hobby knife, grab a nice hot or cold beverage of your choice, and let's have some fun. Steve KC says, I make it NS 8099, that's the Southern Heritage Unit, or 8114 sometime for after my birthday. Nice. Which one of those do you like better out of the two you've mentioned, Steve? Excuse me about that, guys. Just had a little head itch there. So, guys, come on in and ask your questions, and we're glad to help out. Man, please come on in and ask. 8099. Yeah, I figured you'd say that. I figured you'd say that. Yeah. Are you going to try to get scale trains with this one? Or are you going to try to go Intermountain or Athearn Genesis? Oh, nice. Scale trains, yeah. Out of all the companies that I have purchased, items, like Athearn and Atlas and whatnot, I have never owned a piece of Scale Train stuff. If anybody can give me a little advice on Scale Trains on what to actually look for, that would be great. The Mom and Son Train Rail Fence, that's Tammy. Hey Tammy, how are you? Glad you come on in to say hello. Definitely appreciated. Thoughts on the Scale Trains Beth Johns? Steve, I haven't looked into those too closely, but knowing Scale Trains, anything is good. I cannot imagine anything less than awesome with that. I have looked at some Scale Trains products in the past, but I haven't really looked at them in full detail. But Scale Trains is really up there when it comes to details. They've done a lot of different models like the Spirit units. They've done a whole lot of stuff, but I really wish they would come out with a Southern GP30 high hood. I really wish they would come out with that, because if there was a Southern high hood Jeep 30 and a HO scale, I'd buy one instantly because of what it is. Because I'm a huge Southern fan, as everyone knows. I'm a huge Southern fan, and any of the Southern power was always good because of not only the Southern was better half of the merger, but their paint scheme always wanted you to keep coming back. The tuxedo on all the EMDs looked fantastic. The GEs were looking good as well, but nothing replaces a Southern EMD locomotive. So I really wish Scale Trains could do a high hood Jeep 30, or even Athearn Genesis with Tsunami 2 sound. So that's just my little 2 cents there. So guys, keep on asking the questions. We're just getting the party started. So please come on in, ask your questions, lay back with us. Definitely a good time where you can ask questions, and maybe if you're working on the layout and have a question, please come on in and ask. I heard the Train Fest train show this weekend in Milwaukee. I wonder what new announcement for locomotives and rolling stocks. Wow, yeah, because I haven't looked at the announcements too much. Might be able to do a little search. Hold on, let's see. Let's see. Oh wow, I'm just looking up here. Athearn's doing some more AC44s and a variety of different paint schemes. Oh yeah, UP, Ferromex, CP, BNSF, Southern Pacific, regular and Southern Pacific UP patch, CSX, Chicago Northwestern. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're doing a good amount of those. And for CSX, they've been putting them in YN2, which is excellent. Going back to the 90s with that, which I think is great. They've also got some new GP7 locomotives that are coming out too. This is just Athearn. Let's see, which ones are they doing here? Looks like they're doing Reading Railroad. They're doing Maine Central, which looks really pretty. Western Pacific, the Feather Route, Conrail, Santa Fe. I'm looking to see what else is in. The GP7 is really popular, guys, among model railroaders. Definitely one of my favorite locomotives. They're doing the Maine Central in 2 different paint schemes. You've got the dark green and you have the bright yellow. Okay, hold on. We do have a question, guys. What would be a good steam to get Ray? Let me think. Well, one of my favorites is obviously the Norfolk and Western 611. That's one of my favorites. The next pretty one that I really like is the Southern Pacific 4449, which is the GS4 class locomotive. That's my second favorite steam locomotive, and the daylight scheme. Thinking of the next one that I would really like. The Big Boy is my next one. You and I were thinking along the same lines. I was just getting ready to say the Big Boy. The Big Boy is highly collectible, especially the 4014, because that's the one that is active on the Union Pacific. But that thing, Tammy, I will say this. It takes a huge curve to operate that thing because that thing is huge. I mean, it's probably this long. I mean, it's pretty big. So definitely want to check the radius of the curve of what is required for that locomotive because the steam locomotives are definitely a lot longer than the diesel locomotives because you have the locomotive and the tender, which does which does um, which does add the length to it. I think the 22 inch is about right with it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the 22 inch might work for it. But I'm just taking a wild guess. But I know the 611 will definitely take a 22 inch, I think. I think the GS4 will do the same thing. I'm doing this off the top of my head. Uh, so, and Steve, thank you for coming in and helping with this. Yeah, wider curve so it won't derail. That's one of the common problems that some guys have with it. I had problems with one of my diesel locomotives because the turn was too sharp. So I was actually able to expand it and be able to make it work. Oh, you're most welcome, Tim. Brian J comes and we got a new guy on board. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, Pat, when getting started, how do you select the right gauge? This is a very good question. I've been asked a lot about this in my years of model railroading. Well, it depends on, first off, your budget, number one. Number two, the space that you have in your home. If you want to do like maybe, if you have a really small space and you want to go with something small, then you go with the small gauge like N scale or even HO scale. Oh, Ready Company Productions comes in. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man? How are you? If you want to do something big and you really want like active accessories, O gauge is the way to go. Because with O gauge, you can buy the operating accessories, you wire them to the transformer or to the track, and you have a lot more fun with the layout like that. It's it's definitely something. If you have small children, the bigger trains, they're easier to re-rail. Now, if you want to go all scenic, HO scale and N scale are the way to go there. I have 4 gauges in my collection. I have O gauge, which I started with as a boy. I have HO scale, which I started collecting in 2007. So I've been collecting HO for 15 years. I also have a little bit of N scale and just one little bit of G scale. G scale is the largest. That's 1/29th scale. O gauge is 1/48th scale. Let's see, HO gauge is 1/87th. And N gauge is 1/160. Now, the price is going to be big because O gauge is expensive. O gauge is very expensive. HO scale is not too awfully expensive, but depends on what you're buying and the brand name. N scale is pretty inexpensive. I have actually looked at some N scale stuff. But for N scale, I just do regular standard DC locomotives. All right, Tammy, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. But that's how I look about the scale, you know, how much space I have, obviously the money, and if I want something operating to make it a little bit more fun, or you want to just have like something basic and realistic, you know, scenic-wise. For my HO and N scales are pretty simple setups. My O gauges, as you guys have seen in my previous videos of for the O gauge layout, there's a lot of moving parts. The accessories are what add to that. For G gauge, there are some accessories for G gauge. There are some operating accessories, but I'm not into that. But I do know there are some model railroads for G scale that do the operating accessories for G gauge. There are some out there, but O gauge is where the operating accessories are. A little bit behind on a few of the comments. Ready Company, no worries, bud. I'm just glad to see that you're on. And thoughts on the Walters Proto enclosed auto racks. Beautiful. For the ones of you who may not know, the Walters Proto line, which I believe used to be Proto 2000, if I'm saying that right. That's incredibly helpful. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Brian. They're the components that I look at when it comes to it. Now, you may be asking about the brand name. The brand name of a particular train manufacturer. Now, if it's O gauge, there's one name, Lionel. Not only has it been in business for over almost 125 years, but it is also the brand that everybody knows. Ralph Van Cannon, that's Cannon Griffin. What's going on, brother? Great to see you, man. It's been a long time. Yes, sir. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for tuning in. Come on and join the fun of model rarity. Come on down, man. Come on down. Is the O-gauge layout what you have on your lower track? All right. The upper deck is O-gauge. That's my Lionel stuff. The bottom deck is my G-gauge around my HO layout. G-gauge, there's one name for that. LGB is who I prefer. They are manufactured in Ensland, West Germany. They also do an American line of things as well, but they're known for their German stuff, and the German stuff is really cool. USA Trains, not familiar with them as much, but LGB is the way to go for G-gauge. For HO, I prefer Atlas, Athearn, Intermountain is good. Steve Casey, Railfan, prefers scale trains. But with me, Athearn Genesis is the way to go for locomotives. Scale trains is right behind them. I sure am. How have you been? Doing okay, man. Doing fine. Just been real busy with my job and still enjoying my trains when I can. Ethan Conklin comes on. Hey, what's going on, man? How are you? Got some new guys aboard. I like this already. Man, this is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Brian, getting back to what I collect, there are the 3 gauges I have out there. And just in my living room, it's just my N-scale loop. I just have this a little small loop with a couple little accessories, you know, an operating switch and my bridge and crossing, and that's about it. B&B Railroad comes in. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. Great to see you. Railfan Can says, same here, my friend. I've been busy on my job. Yeah, if you're busy, that's always a good thing. Should Walters Mainline do more 60s and 60Ms? They do a good rendition of it, as well as the SD50. And Brian J says, okay, gotcha. Thank you. Let me just think on something else. Now, for N-gauge for manufacturers, guys, there's several names that I like. Bachmann does a pretty good line of stuff as a beginner. Athearn does a good line. Atlas does a good line. And for locomotives, I have old Lifelikes that were brand new that I found. I actually have 2 that were bought brand new. One of them was inherited to me, which is my Southern 6130. My SD70 ACE and N-scale is Kato. Kato does really well. I think everyone pronounces it Kato. And they are Japanese designed, and they do a pretty good job. They mostly do locomotives. They will do some cars, but they mostly do locomotives for HO and N-scale. They do a lot of Amtrak locomotives, which I think is pretty cool. Pretty legit there. They've done Dash 9s. They've done F40 PHs. They've done the Genesis. They've done Superliners, but they don't do a lot of freight cars, I don't think. They mostly do like freight locomotives and passenger locomotives, but they mostly do the Superliners. They do a pretty good rendition of them. So, just a little something to keep in mind there. But Kato is pretty good. I've got some friends of mine who collect Kato and told me that Kato does pretty well. So, and thank you, Steve, for the follow-up there. There's a lot of Amtrak stuff for HO and N-scale. Yes. I believe they've done the ACS 64 in N-gauge. I know Bachmann has done it in HO scale instead with the Siemens turbochargers, and those look pretty. I've seen those at my local train store as well, and those look good. And even Kato did the daggone it. They've done the Amtrak Heritage locomotives, which look good too. Johnny's Train Videos. Hey, what's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you. Let's see. Which producers do the MK California car stock? Steve, if you're on still, you might be able to pick this up. Kato does the 53-foot well cars for animals. Oh, yeah, I forgot they did that. Thanks for throwing that out there. I do appreciate that, Steve. Brian says, I see in your videos that you buy individual cars and locomotives. Do people usually start with sets? Well, some guys like to start with a set because it kind of gives them an idea of what they're getting, obviously, but also figure out how the track is put together, how the power supply hooks to the track, how the locomotive operates, and get a few cars to get started. I started with the set for both N gauge and HO gauge. My G gauge is a set. For O gauge, it actually, I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But I started with a set with HO gauge, figured out what to get, and then all of a sudden, I just started expanding. And you can expand as much as you want, but you can just come and go as you please, allowing your budget and allowing your time. And you can, before you know it, you can have a basic layout that you can enjoy, every now and then. Now, Brian, are you thinking about HO scale, N scale, O gauge, or are you just trying to figure out something in general? And Railfan Cannon says, I have a lot of N scale models. What models do you have, my friend? B&B Red says, I'm a Bachmann guy myself. I really would like to see them step up their game a little bit as far as DCC and sound. Yeah, I mean, I use DCC on board for Bachmann. I used to back in the day. I had a few of those. I still have a couple of those. And they actually run pretty well, but their DCC sound value has come out 10 years ago, and it's actually not bad for what I've been told. But Bachmann has really stepped up their game the last 10 years. So hands down to Bachmann for that. Okay. Steve says Amtrak Surf Line cars produced by Athearn Genesis. Brian J says, I'm still in the general status while I figure out the space. Yeah, I understand. If you want to put a small layout in your garage, a 4x8 layout for O gauge or even HO gauge is not bad. Even for N gauge, a 4x8 is plenty. A 4x8 sheet of plywood. That's a standard size for some guys that just want something basic. The one thing you would have to do is just get a 4x8 sheet of plywood from Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever, and then just build a small frame for it. Put a couple of 2 or 3 joists in it, screw it together, put the legs on it, attach the legs. You can paint the table. You can lay down felt or something. Now, the green that you see, I'll check up with the comments in just a few minutes, guys. Keep them coming, but I'll try and explain something to Brian for a second. The green scenery that you see on my layout at home, here on my channel, that is actually green carpet that came from Lowe's, and it came in a good-sized roll. The only thing my dad had to do was just spray it down with some spray glue, and just attach it. That was it. You can definitely do that. You can also add some molding around it like mine has at home. I'm just trying to think of some other things that you can do. And some of it can be found at your local hardware store. I mean, obviously the wood and the screws and everything. But you can get really creative and just go to your local Lowe's, Home Depot. Hobby Lobby is another good source for a little bit of the scenic stuff. Michael's is pretty good, where you can get some of the paint and stuff. But there's a lot of good sources. And plus, you can also go to your local train store or hobby store for some of that as well. You can venture out and look at some of the stores, and you can get some ideas on scenery. You can also get some ideas on locomotives and cars and power packs, things like that. And Canon has CSX and VRE and Amtrak and NS. Awesome. I've been really enjoying your channel and content. Thank you, Brian. Do you like this is Ethan Conkin that asked, do you like the SDP40F in the Santa Fe scheme? It looks pretty good. Now, is that in N scale or HO scale? These are all great ideas. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Glad the ideas have been helpful. Thoughts on Woodland Scenic? Woodland Scenic, I hear, is pretty good. I haven't really used many of their products, but there's some model railroaders that do, and they love them. For trees, you can get it from your local train store. or you can even find some just at the craft store sometimes, or you can make your own trees. You know, you can definitely try to make some of your things just out of remedies you have at home. And I have done some of that plenty of times here in model rarity and even in general. And you can find solutions sometimes just right in your workshop or even in your own home. So, okay, for the HO scale model for what Ethan's talking about, yes, it looks pretty. I had to enjoy my coffee there for a second. So, yeah, definitely keep the questions coming, guys. I'm loving this. So, this has been good, guys. This is off to a really good start. Keep these coming. I love this. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So, yes, please, please, come on down, guys. Come on down. Let's continue to have some fun. But Woodland Scenic is pretty good, and sometimes you can just find some books at your local library, or even just some YouTube videos to help you out. So there are a couple other good sources. You can always visit your local library or even your local train store on some literature. Literature is always good. YouTube videos are always good. One other thing that I recommend, I know this has not been taught in my Model Railroads in my Model Railroad Monday series, but having repair manuals for like your O gauge stuff really do help. And same with HO and N scale, because you can probably be able to fix your own trains at your own house. So just a little food for thought. Ethan Conkin's got to roll out. Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate it. Come on back anytime. So keep it coming, guys. We can continue on for a little bit. We're going to probably continue this for till about 9:45, so about another hour. So definitely continue to ask some questions, guys. There's lots of time left, and there's lots of chances where you can ask your questions and see we're a little community here. We're actually helping each other out, which is excellent. So definitely keep it coming, guys. Come on down, keep on asking questions. Love the taste of good coffee. In my coffee, it's just regular light roast coffee with some hazelnut cream, and it's really, really good. I actually drink. I'm starting to drink this now. I've had a couple of sips of just regular black coffee. You know, the when it comes out of the pot. I have to put the creamer in it, guys. It adds the flavor to it. It really makes it feel good, makes it taste good. And yes, Brian, yes, I love me some coffee, especially in the wintertime when it's cold. I mean, coffee is good anytime, but gotta have creamer. And Reading Company Productions loves black coffee. So you're like my dad on that note. Glad to see Skeleton's operator and Walter's Mountain doing Casey's ES44s. I may get some. Now, let's see. If you want to go have you do espresso, oh Lord, espresso. Oh Lord, I can't do that, man. I'm more of a basic guy. I do it every now and then. Okay. Any unboxings coming up? Well, I don't know yet. I just don't know. I've just been kind of working with what I have, and also, as a matter of fact, speaking of model railroad videos, I did do a repair video on one of my O gauge cabooses. So when the stream ends tonight, you guys should definitely take a look at it. It's actually resoldering a O gauge caboose that actually had a small electrical problem, and I was able to diagnose it and be able to fix it. So, You've seen a lot of model railroad stuff recently because I've actually been working on the trains a little bit. You know, just going through some things and doing some inspections and things like that. That light looked really nice. Are you talking about the light that's in the video here with like the four bulbs? Yeah, that's my chandelier. That's above our dining room table. Now the only thing you need with this, donuts. Coffee and donuts, perfect match. But yeah. But oh yeah. Now, Brian, speaking of which, have you thought about where you're gonna put your layout, like in a garage or in a small room of your house? Or those vanilla wafers? Yes. Yes. Speaking of which, let me go see what cookies I have. Hold on. Keep the questions coming, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back. I've got the blue tin cookies. I'm gonna have a few of these with my coffee here, and this is interesting from Model Catering. Woo! Let's see. Oh, baby, I like the pretzel looking ones. Yes. So, yeah. Steve said hopefully for Bachman, the Thomas on to do the Boko for HO and the Duncan for HO 30 for narrow gauge. Yes, that's a pretty good one too. O and 30, I think is almost like HO's. I think it's relatively the same size. Bachman does a bunch of that, and that's a pretty good line. So, yeah. Okay, Steve said HON30 is HO models that run on N-scale track. Okay. Okay. So that clears that up. So, yeah. I'm enjoying these cookies. Keep the questions coming, guys. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to warm up my coffee a little bit. I'll be right back. Be right back, guys. I'm warming my coffee back up. Okay. Coffee's warmed back up. Bachman has done really well with the Thomas HON30 stuff, like with Rusty, Peter, Samster, and more. Oh, wow. And oh yeah. Has any model company done any work or rehearsal on the Mart Sumitomo cars? What are the Sumitomo cars, if you don't mind me asking, Matt? I've actually never heard of the Sumitomo cars. I mean, I know like I know like New Jersey Transit's Comet 1 cars. I think they've been modeled. The Martin level control cars. Okay, okay. They were the ones built around like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, something like that. I think I know what you're talking about now. I forgot who. Were they actually built by Sumitomo, or is that just the name of like Bud Sumitomo cars? Or if you could elaborate on that, please, that would be greatly appreciative. The Mark II as the 85 to 87, the Mark II is 92 to 94. Okay, now I know what you're talking about now. What if Athens will do GP39s for their roundhouse line like the Mark ones? Yeah, I would really love to see the Mark GP39s model because I know those just got rebuilt and Mark's been using the heck out of those things as well as did they get? I'm trying to think. I know they had the MP36s at one point. I think they're still using those. I know VRE still makes them, are still using the MP36. So MP30-3C. So those got rebuilt. Nice. And Mark still uses the MPIs. Okay, that's what I thought. MBTA uses them as well. The MP36 is a pretty cool locomotive. That to me looks better than the F59 PHI. Uh, Motive Power really did a good rendition, a really good model on that locomotive. For GE, it was obviously the Genesis and the GG1 before all that, and the E60CH. If you think about it, I love both the F59s and the MPIs. Yeah, the F59 PHs, like the ones that were built for Go Transit, those are cool locomotives. The MP36 is a really cool one as well. And as Coma Line Rail fan, hey man, how's it going? Great to see you on here. Well, that was hot. Coffee's still a little bit hot, so I'll rewarm my coffee. So we're well underway, guys. Keep on asking questions. It's great to hear from everybody. Anyone released the original GOT 78 F40 PHs? Wow, I don't know about that. Steve KC, if you can follow up on this, that'd be appreciative. Or anybody who may know that answer, let us know. Oh, Kansas said VRE told me that VRE just ordered new cab cars. Oh, which ones did they get? I want to see those modeled in HOs or N scale. Oh, doing fine there, man. Hope you are. For the ones of you who don't know this, but Ken and I know this very well, VRE stands for Virginia Railway Express, who is a commuter line. They have double-decker cars, and those are really cool trains. They used to have, I think, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they have some like GP40s at one point, or GP38s at one point? I know they had a couple of F40 PHs, but I know those have long been retired. But I know for a fact they use the MP36 very, very often. Indeed, done lots of research on the VRT, Virginia Railway Express. Oh, wow. NS Commune Line Rail fan. Please keep everything model railroad related, please. If you would like to ask that type of question, please ask me in the fall Q&A prompt, which is the fall 2022 prompt, which is on my channel. And okay, do they still have the GP40s, Ken, or are those long retired? Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you both for confirming, because Ready Company was actually able to come in as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sold and sold. Okay. I figured those were long retired. The Kansas City and the Royal Gorge uses one. Nice, 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 nice. Any type of scale NS locomotive. Now you have to tell me what gauge. I have N scale for NS, and I have a little bit of HO for NS. Like HO scale, let me think here. My GP 15-1, my 1446, NS 911. I've got, oh, nice. Where's the original horn? Nice. I'm trying to think. I know I have those two. I have an SD38 that's in NS paint. I have 3329, which is the Merceland paint. That was the promotional unit. Now for N scale, I have my little Kato SD70 Ace. And y'all have seen that one run around the channel as well. That's a pretty cool locomotive as well. So, little quiet runner. All my engines are quiet runners. But I do have a little bit of Norfolk Southern for HO gauge. But I have like Norfolk and Western, Southern, a little bit of Conrail, a little bit of Santa Fe. Oh, those are on my list to buy. Well, let me tell you. It gets expensive. So do either of you know the horns used on the VRA Gallery cab cards? Ken, you might know this answer you probably know this answer off the top of your head. If you can help out Redding Company Productions, that would be greatly appreciative. So, they've got to be K5LAs if it had to be my guess. It has to be K5LAs. Okay, Matt, what do you got? K5LAs, P5s, P3s, mixed cast. What do we got? Nathan, C5A, CWPs. Man, I've actually never heard of this horn. I mean, I know K5LAs and M5s and all that, but I've never heard this type of Nathan horn. Wow. Now, Steve comes in and asks, what scale trans AC44s would you like for them to see in the second run? Well, trying to think. I would love for them to do a run of the AC44 C6Ms and NS paint. I would really like to see that. But for AC44s, I would have to go with Southern Pacific because the triple digit series, because they bought a whole lot of AC44s. The Southern Pacific speed lettering just looked good on the AC44. Always has. The BNSF Heritage 2 looks pretty good. Obviously, I forgot CNW actually ordered some, but they bought the Dash 9 as well. But I tell you right now, the AC44 looks good in a lot of paint schemes. CSX 1 and 2, BNSF Heritage 2, the CP, the Canadian Pacific with the Golden Beaver logo. That always looks pretty, but nothing for an AC44 beats Southern Pacific speed lettering. I would love to see it, Southern Pacific speed lettering. How they do the UP flag repaints? Yeah, I would love to see that too. And Pat, for my N-scale locomotives, I have 1069, NS 1069, 1065, 8100, and 60, 65, 52 in N-scale. That's awesome. Are all of those Kato, I'm guessing, or is one of them Athearn, or are you strictly Kato? Just curious. Oh, the 6952 is Atlas. Nice. 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 I didn't know Atlas did the 60E and N scale. I'm surprised they didn't do it in HO scale. Because the only manufacturer that I know who did it in HO scale is Athearn Genesis. That's the brand of my 911. Or the CPAC 44s, the yellow striped snow plows. I forgot about that. Like the movie stars of Unstoppable, yes, because those were CP locomotives that they used. So definitely something cool. Railfan Can comes back and says, and my nickel plate road N scale was from Fox Valley. Yes. Fox Valley, I think, was absorbed by Atlas, which I was really sad to hear. But definitely Fox Valley did a whole lot of neat stuff. For HO, they did the GP60. That was their pride and joy for HO. But they did a bunch of Jeep 60s. I did not know they did Engage. Modern Model Trains. Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going? Says hi to Japan. How are you? I got a new car, a green and blue center beam, and an intermodal car. That's awesome. Um, what scale? HO, N scale, G gauge, O gauge? What do you got? HO, and I have HO. Oh, wow. What brand are your cars? Are they Bachmann, Athearn, Atlas, um, Intermountain, Scale Trains? Walters Mainline and Walters Proto. Nice. Nice. I have a couple of Walters Mainline cars, my UPS box car and my U.S. Army box car, both Walters Mainline. Never had Walters Proto, but I do have a Proto 2000 car, which later became Walters Proto. And Proto 2000 made a pretty good line of stuff. And then, of course, Walters absorbed all of that, and Walters just kept it going. Walters train line, I have two locomotives. One of them is that Santa Fe locomotive that I have, as well as my GP15-1. Steve Casey asked, do you plan to get any TTX box cars? I don't know. I do have a Railbox box car that's made by Athearn that is an N scale that looks pretty cool. Athearn does a really good N scale rendition of those cars because Railbox is TTX. But for HO, possibly not right now. Just trying to save up some money and just enjoy what I have and, you know, be able to fix what I have and just keep everything going. You plan to have a train around the Christmas tree? You betcha. You betcha. So, definitely gonna do that this year. I can't wait for it. So, keep on the questions, guys. We've still got about a good another 35 minutes left. So, guys, please continue to ask questions. Please continue to ask questions. That feels good going down my throat, too. Should Athearn do more standard cab 70s? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because that is a handsome model they did, too, buddy. And I'm sure you guys probably knew that Athearn was incorporating the Tsunami 2 sounds in the Athearn Ready to Roll series, which I was really glad Athearn did that because the Ready to Roll series, some of them had sound with the economy sound, but not all of them did. There was only like a select few they would do because I have two Ready to Rolls that have sound. My 3811, my SD38, and my 3329, and my 31 have three locomotives, excuse me. But do you have any BNSF locomotives? No, I don't. I do have a Santa Fe locomotive in my collection, and I do love the Santa Fe. Out of that half between the ATSF and the Burlington Northern, ATSF for the win. One of the best, agreed. One of the best railroads. I've always loved the Santa Fe, especially the red and silver war bonnet paint scheme. I am just tempted to buy another ATSF war bonnet. I'm just tempted to because it's just that paint scheme that just makes you just want to just be in awe. Especially if it's an RS3L, RS3K, any of the Leslie horns on the like the Dash 9s or even the Dash 8Ws that Santa Fe had, both the B40 and the C40. Those sound great. I think The SD75s, I think, had a K3LA as well as the Jeep 60s, GP60Ms. This all of them had that were all the red, silver war bonnet paints. So yeah. Thoughts on the Walthers? This is Stephen Casey, by the way. Thoughts on the Walthers mainline 25,000 gallon modern tank cars. That's a good one that Walthers put out. Definitely a good one that Walthers put out. Walthers has stepped up their game a whole lot. Because you got Walthers Mainline, Walthers Proto, and they got Walthers Trainline. The Trainline locomotives, guys, can really pull some cars. I bought that GP15-1 a little over a year ago to see, because I had never bought a Walthers locomotive. I have Walthers cars, but never had an engine. I bought it, brought it home. That thing pulled like 16, 17 cars. And I said, this thing will pull. I mean, the detail on a lot of it is molded. It's a starter engine. So you're not getting a lot of detail, but let me tell you something. Those were built well. I mean, they're built like tanks. You can't destroy them. Athearn Genesis, built like tanks. The little Lifelike N-scale locomotives, they're pretty much built like tanks. You can't destroy those. And plus the way they're built is really nice. And yes, I'd love to see the 86-foot boxcars in Walthers lineup again. I would love for them to do another rendition of those. They've done a lot of cool stuff, and they've got some locomotives with sound. It's not too awfully talked about, but Walthers does have some sound locomotives. I mean, everybody goes with Athearn, Atlas, Intermountain, and even scale trains for sound. And sometimes guys are going to Bachmann DCC sound value, which is I hear is pretty good. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there with model railroading, guys. There's a lot of things you can do with it. And, you know, you can always fix things. You know, you can find something that's used and be able to fix it, which I have done with my Engage stuff. And you guys have seen a bunch of that on the channel where I have taken 4 or 5 cars I have found in the used section and basically rebuild them. So definitely consider that, guys. If you see a used car that you like and be able to rebuild it, you technically just, you have it's a new used car, but just rebuilt. Yeah, they did the 86-foot box. I may get some to create NS trains 120 or 181. Yeah, the auto trains, the auto parts trains, because those 86-foot long box cars were designed to haul auto parts because there were a bunch of big parts and they needed an extra long car to throw them all in there. So they're really cool to see. I used to see a lot of them that say Grand Trunk Western, GT, the Good Track Road. Yeah, I miss seeing those boxcars big time. Modern Model Trains asks, what do you like more of Soundtrack, ESU or Soundtracks? I'm not familiar with Soundtracks, but I'm familiar with ESU, Economy, and also Tsunami 2 Sound. Tsunami 2 is pretty darn good, especially when it was with Athearn Genesis, because with my EMDs, it's pretty spot on. Economy is not bad, but some guys are telling me for GE, ESU lock sound is the way to go. If you want it spot on with the GE sound, they're saying that ESU actually is better for now. For EMD, in my opinion, Tsunami 2 sound. I don't know Tsunami 2 for GE. I've yet to experience that, but I've heard a lot of guys say ESU lock sound is good for GE models. So, should Canada do crossing signals in HO? I know they're doing them in N-scale. Yeah. I would love to see them do HO signals as well. Hang on, guys. And thank you. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. I really do appreciate it. Uh, uh, and thank you, Steve. Hang on, guys. Let me write something down. Keep the comments coming, guys. Sorry, guys. I had to take note of something. My apologies, guys. Steve, thank you. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. RCP, for that as well. Steve, thank you again. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Guys, as we continue to roll on with the stream, please ask any questions else that you may have. We are going to continue the stream for about another 25 minutes. So if you guys haven't asked questions and you want to ask questions, now is still have some time to ask. So definitely continue to ask questions as we continue with the stream as we go into the closing stages of it. This has actually been a pretty good stream, guys. A lot of good questions, and I like to see that good questions are coming to this, because not only are you asking questions that, that I can actually learn from, you're also helping other model railroaders out. And this is what it's all about. Helping everybody else. Because there have been times where guys have been working on the layout and they've had questions. And that's a good thing, because we can help them as they're working on the layout. Or they're just sitting down thinking about some plans and just thinking about what they want to do. And I think it's wonderful that we can continue this and help those guys out of when everything kind of falls together. Just still transfer the X, N, and W and Conrail SD40-2s? Yes, under one exception. Norfolk and Western and Conrail paint, as well as the Southern paint. I would love to see that. I have in my collection, I have some high hoods, GP39X in Southern paint, 3170, which is a high hood straight 40, NW SD40-2 1629, 1792, which is a high hood SD45, and also a GP18. I do have those just because they're unique models, and like the GP18s, they're actually not too awfully talked about, as well as the GP39X, which I explain those in some of my videos, and those are up on my channel for y'all's enjoyment. What inspired you to clean rolling stock wheels with alcohol? Well, I'm glad Steve asked this question. Well, rubbing alcohol is actually a good way to clean your rolling stock wheels and also your track. First off, it's something you have at home in the medicine in the bathroom, because when you have a little place on that you fall or you get cut or even an acne spot, you put a little bit of alcohol on it to to get rid of the infection. But with this, it's actually very good on cleaning of the cleaning the track and also the wheels, because it actually acts as a degreaser, because it gets rid of the dirt and the grime that the wheels are on. Uh, I have used that on wheels. I've used it on cleaning gears, and it removes all the grease and the oil that are on the gears. And plus, with that, you can get it at the drugstore. It's definitely better than some of the other stuff that's out there, but alcohol is very good. But rubbing alcohol is really good. And plus, I have used it to on that C&W N scale cattle car. I actually used alcohol to remove the rust, and it did a really good job. So you can use it to remove rust off of parts. You can use it to clean the track. And I actually read this out of a Model Railroad magazine. I forgot which magazine it was. It's been many years. But I actually was able to find that in a magazine. And I just happened to be reading. Excuse me. Has a train ever fallen off your layout? Well, I've had some derails, but I have been extremely fortunate that it has not fallen off the track. And that's nice. Oh, thank you. I have been fortunate, I've been able to control the trains at a good speed. And sometimes, you know, accidents are going to happen because, you know, a wheel's going to slip or an accident's going to happen. That's what happens. But the good thing is, the good thing with everything is as long as no one was hurt, that's always a good thing. Because trains can be fixed, cars can be fixed, but life can't be fixed. So, ooh, DCC train had fun. Oops. Do you have any chassis system locomotives? One. I bought it when I was in middle school, and it still runs. It's a Bachmann DCC onboard locomotive. It has probably over 1,000,000 miles on it, and it still runs. I mean, I don't run it often, but I recently had it serviced this past summer, and the thing runs great. Some fresh oil, fresh grease, she's good to go. And those Bachmann DCC locomotives, guys, were built pretty darn well. I mean, the inside of those things, it's basically a tank. You can't destroy it. And I got these back in like 2008, 2009, 2010, and they're still. I have one of those. I even have a Conrail Bachmann DCC on board locomotive, and both of them Jeep 40s. So yeah. So we're going to continue the stream for another 20 minutes. So if you guys have any more questions, please continue to ask. I'm going to go ahead and put the tin of cookies there. So keep the questions coming, guys. We'll continue this for at least the next 19 minutes now. So you've got a little bit more time to ask questions and also to participate with us just a little bit. Modern model trains asked, do you like old Bachmann or new Bachmann? Well, If you're talking old Bachmann from like the 70s and 80s and even the 90s a little bit, they were decent. But I will say Bachmann has come a long way since then because the older ones had the old pancake motor, or the pancake drive is what SMT mainline refers them to. Bachmann really came a long way with their engineering on their models. The newer Bachmann is way better than what it was then. They've come a long way, but like the rolling stock that they produced in like the 70s and the 80s, they are continuing to produce some of them with just better tooling, and I think it's really great. And plus, locomotives that Bachmann has produced, they have actually gone back to the older models and they've improved them with a better drive system, which I think is wonderful. You know, taking something that you've produced, going back to the drawings back in the day, and being able to improve it, which I think is absolutely great. Because basically you are recycling old plans and making them better. So that's the way I see that. And plus, Lionel has done the same thing. Every manufacturer has done it. But for HO gauge, Bachmann really did a good job. Now, Bachmann's done a good job. And like I said, it's a good starter line. So I used to be a real good Bachmann fan. Still are, but not as often as I used to be. Thoughts on the scale trains SD40-3 and CSX? As much as I do not like the SD40-3 in general, scale trains actually did a good rendition. I was really surprised. But you can just tell, I'm not trying to single anyone out, but just in general, the manufacturers are going back to the blueprints and studying every single detail of where every single little handrail goes, whether if it's every single detail on the trucks. They are looking at the blueprints of just a rebuild or the actual blueprints from EMD and GE. They go back and put in every single detail, and that's why you are seeing scale models of these models, and they look very, very handsome. Hoping scale trains or Athearn do the CP and CSX AC44 rebuilds. Really hoping scale trains does that. If they do those with the NSC6Ms or even the CN C6M version, that would be great because CN is rebuilding some of theirs too, and I think UP is doing the same thing. BNSF has done the AC44 C4Ms, which are the old 600 series -9 that were built, -9s that were built for ATSF in '94. One thing they did was just keep the same cabin, same overall appearance, just rebuilt the inside, upgraded the cab, and overhauled the prime mover and put a fresh coat of H3 on it. Yeah, we know about the Crazy Eights thing. Yeah, that was rebuilt to a 40-3, which I really wasn't surprised when they did that, but, you know, it's what can you do? I'll look at the comments here in just a second. Steve says, I know Athearn did do the 88-88 before. Wish they could do it again. Yeah, because it looked good in one too. Looked really good in one. That was actually an ex-Penske SD40. Was under Penn Central. Then Conrail rebuilt the locomotive at Altoona in 1993. That was one of the SD40R-2s. And that later just became SD40-2. Just like with NS 3411, 3400, 3405, 3407, 3441, 3445. The 3445 was originally built as Baltimore, Ohio, then it fell into Pennsylvania. All of those were upgraded. All of those were upgraded by Altoona shops in 1993. Just to kind of go on the big side for a second, those were rebuilt to SD40R-2. R meaning rebuilt. Those were straight 40s rebuilt to -2 specs, and then after the merger, it was just straight SD40-2. So, just wanted to explain that real quick. Hey, dude, one more question before I leave again. Do you like the Union Pacific HO scale train? Please be more specific because there are a lot of them. You have to be specific on the specific model. Whether if it's a passenger train, if it is a freight set, it has to be specific. There's been a lot of Union Pacifics, even if it's a steam train set. Please, please, please be specific. Some of the sets that have been actually out there that have the Union Pacific name, obviously I think it's the Challenger set that Bachmann has. It's a steam locomotive with like a whole bunch of freight cars, and that's a really pretty Bachmann set. Look at what Steve just put, guys. I showed my cat my Athearn C8 Catix hopper, the CATX hopper, and she loved it. It's the light blue hoppers that have a cat paw print on it. Nice, dude. That's really cool, man. That's pretty neat, man. That's awesome. But okay, guys, we're coming down to the final few minutes of the stream. So if you have any last minute questions, now is your time to ask. Turn out this light real quick. So, yeah, this has actually been really fun tonight, guys. I've really enjoyed it. Just wanted to continue this for the next few minutes of any last minute questions that you may have. While I'm waiting on a few more questions to come in, I will take this time to talk about a few announcements that I have. I did post a video tonight on repairing my O-gauge caboose. Definitely want to take a look at that. I've also got a lot of videos in the works. I did not do a community engineers bulletin. I just did the video version. I do have a couple of more surprise projects that are in the works now. So definitely be on the lookout for some surprise stuff coming up. I do have a lot of stuff coming up, even some footage from the late this past summer and early this fall that I have yet to even touch. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to be tending to. So a lot more premieres are going to be coming out here before too long. For DCC Customized, Kato, HO, River Aussie, like I said, Bachmann has done a couple of good ones. I know. Oh yeah, I saw it. It was awesome. Thank you. I'm trying to remember all the other sets. There's been so many of them done by so many manufacturers. But the Union Pacific HO locomotive in general looks pretty. I mean, any sort of model. AC44, F7, F9, GB38-2, GB40-2. The Union Pacific scheme has always looked good on any locomotive, in my opinion. Any sort of model locomotive, it looks good on it. Same with all the other railroads. I've collected model trains a long time, guys, most of my life. And I will tell you, a lot of guys like Union Pacific because of the name. And Union Pacific had a lot of cool locomotives like the SDP-35, which is not too off we talked about. The DD-40AX. Eric's Trains has, I believe, still has one in O-gauge. And he's pretty cool to look at for model trains as well. Now, do you like the Christmas Bachmann sets in the HO and G scales? Bachmann does a really good Christmas set. They do awesome Christmas sets. I had seen some of those in my local train store, and I've seen them everywhere, but let me tell you this much. Bachmann does a really good one, and Lionel does a really good one as well. They look good. They look really. And Lionel actually did G scale for some time. I don't think it lasted, but I sure wish they would actually get back into that because G scale is a pretty good market. I like UP because their paint scheme and their heritage units. Yes, because they were actually the first railroad that actually did heritage units. I remember when those debuted. I have not seen a UP heritage unit, but let's see, it was them first, then it was Amtrak, then Norfolk Southern. CN has technically always had theirs because of the predecessor railroads, but all the other guys started following suit a little bit, and plus CSX did their commemorative units, which I think was really nice. Favorite ones has to be Geo Bells Express or the North Pole Express. Yes. And Lionel does the North Pole Central. And everybody loves the Polar Express and even some of the other sets as well. I mean, there have been a lot of good sets produced over the years. And I'm really glad to see that the younger generation is into this because I was reading an article in the Saturday Evening Post this past weekend that the model railroad interest has really taken off. And it's barely made a comeback because a lot of guys are interested in it, which I think is really awesome. All right, Ethan Conklin says, okay, cool, gotta hop off in a bit. See you, buddy. Really, again, love your content. Keep up the good work and good night. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Please come back. Please come back. And, like me, I'm 14. Hey, that's okay. There's another friend of mine who's 14 who's into it. He does O gauge and N gauge, and he loves it. So, I mean, it's good for any age. I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's good for any age. I've been at the train since I was 3, big and small, because I love the ginormous sizes and even, the little trains where you can have fun with them. Because the little trains you can have fun with. And especially cracking out the soldering iron and also cracking out the roll of solder. Oh, yes. I love using a soldering iron. I love the smell when solder gets melted and attaches to the wire. I love the smell of it. Because that's how the older generation played. They played with tools and everything. And that's how I played when I was a kid. Playing with that stuff is always cool. As we continue to wind down, Steve Casey is going to bring up the rear. Thoughts on the Overland Limit set by Bachmann. That's the set I was thinking. I think it has a UP steam locomotive with like 8 or 10 cars with it. It's a huge set. I've seen that set. That's a really cool set. I think it's just a standard DC set. But I tell you, it's really pretty though. That's a cool looking steam locomotive. Really cool steam locomotive. But like I said, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this live stream of Model Railroad Monday's November edition. Get ready to close it up here in just about 5 minutes. So we're going to continue to wind this down a little bit. We're going to let it go for about another 5 minutes, and then we will go ahead and stop it for the night. Like I said, it has been wonderful to see everybody up here, and lots of good questions have continued to come on, which I'm very pleased with. So, I really, really like this. I'm really glad to see that a lot of you guys have interest in this, and you're building your own layouts. I think this is wonderful. I love seeing the younger guys interested in something, and even some of the older guys. I'm glad to see that the model railroading interest is still thriving. I'm going to use that word tonight, thriving. I go in my local train store sometimes, and sometimes you can strike up a conversation with somebody just talking trains. I've done that a lot of times. And talking to them, about the scale they collect or even just what they do sometimes. Sometimes you can pick up a tip from somebody who's been doing it a long time. So, sometimes you can be able to help a customer right in your own train store. And I've actually, struck up conversations with guys who are thinking about something, and sometimes you can just sit right in the right moment and you can ask an appropriate question, and they might say, "Yeah, I'd be able to somehow." They'd be like, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What do you know something?" And sometimes you know the answer right off the top of your head. So, And Steve says Bachman sure makes some nice hits. Yeah, for a starter set, they do pretty well. I have to give it to Bachman on this one. And Bachman does a pretty good job. And plus, the Bachman Easy Track is the way to go for HO and N-Scale. I mean, I know some guys like the Code 100 track, especially the old-timers, because that's what they're used to. The Bachman Easy Track N-Scale is good. The Unit Track by Kato is not bad. But with Bachman Easy Track, if you want simple accessories, Bachman's the way to go. And wish Bachman could do another U.S. Army set. Yeah, I've seen their Army set. It's not bad, but I really wish they'd do another one. I really wish they would do another one. Maybe one with sound in it. So, I would really love to see if Bachman did another Army set. But, like I said, you know, there's a lot of good stuff out there with Model Railroad stuff, guys. And a lot of this, and some guys ask me, how do you know so much, Pat? Well, I will say this. My dad taught me some, and plus I've learned from a lot of guys over time. And going into the train store and talking with guys, you know, like the associates and stuff, which I think is pretty cool. So, you just learn from different guys, and sometimes you look on YouTube videos or read literature. You can always look at look at literature. You can look at YouTube videos, or you can even find DVDs on some of this stuff. And you can even just ask on streams like this, which would be cool. So there, you got sources out here, guys. Just remember, use your resources. And sometimes your sources are right there in the train store, or you're standing right next to someone. You know, I've done that plenty of times. You know, I've actually helped somebody out with a one time at one of the train stores a turn issue with a steam locomotive, and I was able to help him fix it. He actually got the right stuff for it. I remember one time somebody was looking for an engine and he didn't know what to buy, and I just happened to look in the same section. I was actually able to help the guy. So be able to help out your model railroaders, guys, not only on this, but maybe in your local train store or hobby shop. I mean, hey, it's like going to the barber shop and getting a haircut. They're always talking about subjects of something. You know, whether if it's, you know, what's been going on at home, you know, what events are going on in the city. And sometimes it's railroads, you know. In the train store, obviously, it's railroads because that's where everybody likes to hang out. Is at the train store, especially if you're a model railroad collector. So, yeah. What if this is Reading Company Productions asking, what if Horizon cab cars? That would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool, in my opinion. Because the only cab cars that Amtrak has ever had, I believe, are the old Metroliners, I think. That were bought by Penn Central. I think they convert them to cab cars for the diesel service, for the electric service, I think. So, they're not talked about often. But that would actually be really cool. Well, guys, it is 9:45. It is time for this stream to come to a close. I just would like to say thank you all very much for tuning in tonight. And Steve Chase says hopefully to get NS 9099 despite the real one stored at Altoona. Yes, agreed. And those are the only ones besides the Surfliners and the California cars. Yeah, the California cars are cool, but would really love to see the ones that are really cool to see. So thank you, Steve, for tuning in and for the help. Reading Company Productions, thank you very much. And I would like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It was definitely something for the books. Good night, guys. Thank you guys very much. Thank you so much. Great to see you guys up here. Look forward to seeing you guys for the final Model Railroad Mondays of 2022, which will be in December. I will look at that date real quick before we close out. The first Monday in December is the 5th. That's going to be the tentative date. We're going to try to get that done so we can have the final one for that. And I might be able to extend that one a little bit. So that one might be a little bit extra to that one. So I'm not 100% sure. but definitely want to tune in for that one when it comes around. So have a good night, everyone. Just remember, smash the like button, drop a comment down below, hit that subscribe button. Brian J., thank you so much for the kind words. You're most welcome. I greatly appreciate you tuning in. Model Trains, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Like I said, thank you all so very much. And happy model railroading, guys. As Vintage Running Rail says, happy model railroading, guys. And it's with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching.